What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Young and Intelligent Money Investing channel. So in the last video I had a viewer request to go over Warren Buffett's complete portfolio, and that is exactly what we're going to do today. But before we get into that, I just want to thank you guys so much. We just hit 300 subscribers, which is absolutely awesome. We've been growing really fast and I appreciate you guys so much. Also, we hit our like goal of 15 on the last video, so let's do the same thing here. Let's try and hit 15, please. That'd be awesome, guys. And also leave a comment telling me what you guys want to see in the next video. Okay, let's get into this. So, Warren Buffett's portfolio is absolutely insane. It puts my portfolio to shame, and pretty much anybody else's in the world to shame. And if just to show you guys the absolute scale of what he has built over his lifetime, I'm gonna talk about his portfolio today. So CNBC has a great tracker of the Berkshire Hathaway portfolio. Berkshire Hathaway is Warren Buffett's company. He doesn't own all of it, but he owns a large portion. I think he owns about 40% or so, 40%. So let's start with his American Airlines holdings. So he has 47 million shares of American Airlines, totaling to about 2.46 billion, and it's a 9.82% stake in the company, which is ridiculous. I know he has a few airlines companies in his portfolio, I believe. Apple, we know that's a big position of his. He has a 2.6% stake in Apple, worth 22.95 billion. American Express, he owns 17.5%, which is going to total out to 14.9 billion. Here's a small position for him, only worth 756 million in Axalta Coating Systems. I think that's how you pronounce it. Then he has Bank of America Corp. That's one of his more famous positions at 20 billion, 6.5% stake. Bank of New York, 2.7 billion. Charter Communications, 2.9 billion. Costco Wholesale Corporation, I didn't even realize he was invested there, at 818 million, or he has about a 1% stake. He owns 7.45% of Delta, or Berkshire does, totaling about 3 billion. DaVita Inc. owns about 2.8 billion. Graham Holdings, 60 million. So a very small position for Buffett's portfolio, which is just crazy to think about. A $60 million position is one of his smallest. Most people would kill to have that kind of holding in an individual stock. GM, he owns 4.22% at 2.5 billion. Goldman Sachs, 2.9% at 2.785 billion. IBM, we know that's a position where he's been decreasing his stake because he doesn't love the outlook of that company. He owns 4% of it. I know he's sold off about a third of his shares, $5.7 billion. Johnson & Johnson only has 45 million in there, 0.01% of the company. Kraft Heinz, we know he owned a big portion of one of those, Kraft or Heinz. I can't remember which one it was before a merger. So that's 26.73% and worth 25 billion. Coca-Cola, we know that's one of his classics. He's really promoted Coca-Cola, and I think that was one of his first investments. 18 billion, or 9.4% of the company. Liberty Global PLC, these two positions, the Class C and Class A stocks, total about $1 billion. Liberty Latin America Limited, I don't know what these companies are, but he has $56 million and $26 million in them respectively. Liberty Sirius Xm, you guys know Sirius, 1.8 billion for an 8.2% stake. Southwest Airlines, $3 billion stake, 8% of it. MasterCard Inc., 748 million, owns 0.5% there. Moody's Corp owns about 13% for $3.6 billion valuation. Mondelez only owns 0.04% of them and it's worth 24 million. Monsanto Company, $1 billion, 2% of that. M&T Bank, so you guys can see a trend here. There's a lot of banks, but also another thing, not a lot of tech in here. As you guys know, Warren Buffett not a big fan of the tech stocks, just because he says that you never should invest in something you don't fully understand, and he does not fully understand tech, so he stays away. M&T Bank Corporation, he owns $922 million worth of it, 3.6%. Procter & Gamble Co. only owns 0.01% for a $29 million stake about. Phillips 66 owns 16% of that, $8.167 billion. Restaurant Brands International, $522 million. Sirius XM. I'm curious to know how Sirius XM and the other Sirius company we talked about compare, like what the difference is, or if they're related at all. $724 million worth of Sirius XM stocks. Sanofi, not sure what that company is, but he owns $168 million worth of the stock. Store Capital, $480 million. Synchrony Financial, $805 million. This is just insane, guys. The list keeps going. We're getting down there, but this is just absolutely insane. Okay, Torchmark Corporation, $575 million for a 5% stake, about 5.5%. United Continental Holdings owns 9.5% of the company for almost $2 billion. UPS only owns about $7 million worth, so it's a very small position, but UPS we know is a great company. US Bancorp, I don't know, I'm not positive. 4.6 billion, 5.13% of the company. USG Corporation, $1.48 billion in that for 28% of that company. Visa, great company, only owns 0.47% of the company, but that totals out to $1.2 billion if he was to sell it all today. Verisk Analytics, $149 million of that, worth of that. Verisign, maybe, for $1.5 billion worth of that stock for 13.14% of the company. Verizon Communications, a really small position here, only $50,000. That's kind of an odd position that he'd even pay attention to a stock with only $50,000 invested. That might be something to look more into. Wells Fargo and Company, wow, owns 9.42% of the company, which is worth $28 billion, which is insane. Walmart only owns 0.05% of Walmart, and has equity worth $138 million. So this is the total. The total amount of shares he owns 3,113,000. 3 million. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry guys. 3,113,472,098 shares of stocks, and that totals out to the Berkshire portfolio of publicly traded stocks. You know, they still own a lot of privately traded companies, not even traded, just private companies. 191 billion, 168,614,646 dollars worth of stock if they were to sell it all today, which is insane, and that's only a small portion of what that is. Let's look at their share price. Just the share price of the Class A stock is $296,000 for one share, which is just wild, guys. Has a market cap of $489 billion. So you guys know that these aren't the only holdings. They own companies like Dairy Queen and Geico and countless more that I won't even go into right now. Their portfolio is so wide that I think owning a share of Berkshire, obviously there's a more affordable way to get into it. I own a share of Berkshire Class B. I think owning a share of Berkshire is kind of like owning an ETF because of how diversified they are and how cash heavy they also are. Like they're sitting on, I think, a $50 billion cash pile, maybe more. So that money makes it so they're safe, and they're not gonna. That's not gonna be a company that goes out of business anytime soon, and they have money coming in from so many different sources. And let's just think about the amount of dividends that they get from all these companies. I'm not sure any of these companies don't give a dividend. So imagine the daily, monthly, quarterly dividends that come in from all these companies. That might be a thing to go into in another video, but I'm not going to do that today. Let me know in the description or down in the comments if you guys would like to see me break down all of the dividend income that Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway are making every single quarter and every year, because it's just wild seeing how much money that this company has built up over such a long period of time. And a lot of Buffett's net worth and a lot of the returns from Berkshire have come in the last 10 or so years. In the last 5 years, the company's worth has over doubled. So I would imagine that's part of that is the stocks that it has behind it going up in price. So when he bought into Apple, he might have only put $10 billion into Apple, $5 billion into Apple, but his holding value is now $23 billion, which is just wild to me, guys. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please drop me a like if you liked it. We have about 25% of our, or 75% of our viewers are not yet subscribed. They watch and do not subscribe. So if you haven't yet, please just try it out. Unsubscribe if you don't like the channel after a few more videos. Just try it out, guys. Doesn't cost you anything. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.